Alright, hello, my name is Coon. I'm here to show you the Paradise Valley FFA chapter. I am currently the Vice President, so let's get started. Alright, so one of the first things you'll see when you walk into our classroom is our tilapia tanks. These are where our baby tilapia start off. It's staged to prevent overcrowding and also so they don't compete for food and or eat each other. It's a very important step. Make sure they live long enough so we can grow them bigger. Right here we have a praying mantis tank. This is a demonstration tank we use to show kids what we use to control pests in our greenhouse. These praying mantis eat everything in sight, including aphids, fungus gnats, lacewings, anything really that's bad in our greenhouse. So we move over here. This is our saltwater aquarium tank. It's the only saltwater tank we have. It is just like an ocean. The salinity is the same. It has an artificial current, 2 clownfish, and lots of what we call aptasia. Aptasia is a parasite. Looks a lot like an anemone, but it's the wrong kind of anemone for a clownfish. It will actually hurt them if they get too close to it. We are trying various methods of biological control. So far we've tried gluing their mouths shut, some crabs, and some shrimp. We look into some slugs in the future and maybe even breeding those slugs so we have a continuous supply. As you go along the classroom you find lots of ornamental fish. They're tropical ones in freshwater. This is an Oscar with a Texas cichlid in it. These are 2 goldfish. Big one, his name is Steve. He was found in a fish tank a while back from one of our events. He was left alone and he grew to that size all by himself because he had nothing to compete with. As we go further down, we have the big Oscar. He's big and he'll eat anything. We have a tank of mealworms that we like to keep just to give him a little treat or snack. Little kids love to see him eat those mealworms when they stop by. This is another one of our breeding tanks. These are Kenny cichlids. The blue one is the male and the yellow ones are females. They actually both start off yellow and then the male grows to blue. And so what we look to do is we hope to look to breed these and sell them as ornamental fish for your ordinary fish tank. Very neat little process we got going. They will sell and make lots of money for us. This is Cliff's tank. We don't know why you named him Cliff, but he's a little shy. He likes to hide in that pot all day. When he's not in that pot, the Plecostomus is. The Plecostomus is an interesting fish. It will eat any algae that's on the side of a tank or any surface. Its only goal in life is to eat all the algae in the tank. That's why they're very good to keep in tanks. They keep it clean out of algae so we don't have to scrub it down as often. As we head over here, we have a multi-level tank. It's a very neat little process we got going. So basically, what happens when we get it finished and we get life into it, there's going to be fish in this tank and this tank. And then in these 2 tanks, there will be some sort of lettuce, crop, anything that, like an herb that would grow on water. And we'd have a heater in here because the tilapia needs slightly colder water, no, slightly warmer water, while the lettuce needs cooler water. So what we hope to do is when the water goes from here to there, through this filter, through that filter, up to here, it'll be cool enough for the lettuce by then. And when these are flipped back down, the water siphons through all the different stages back down to the bottom and gets pumped up by the pump. To continue this process over again. As we go over here, you'll see another one of our breeding tanks for the Kenny cichlids. It's slightly bigger, but it has plenty of opportunities for them to hide because they're very territorial and they need places for shelter and later in life when they start breeding. As you go outside, you'll see lots of different things. One of the first things you'll see on your way out is our collection of water. Now this isn't just normal water, this is fertilizer water as we call it. It is harvested from the end cycle of the aquaculture facilities in the greenhouse. This is nutrient-rich algae and fish waste water. These are all of our tools. We have everything from shovels, brooms, rakes, pickaxes, trench shovels, garden hose. Everything we could need to possibly do a landscaping project on campus, off campus, is in there. This is our cage where we keep all our plant containers. We have a large variety of plant containers to make sure that they have the appropriate requirements throughout their life. That, you know, as they get bigger, they need a bigger pot. You know, they start off at something small like a liner, and then they go into a 1 gallon, and so on and so on. Alright, so as we continue on, we leave that. We're going to go into our greenhouse next. There's lots of stuff going on in there. So let's go right ahead. Alright, this greenhouse is climate controlled. It automatically turns everything on and off as needed, including the fans, the vents, the wet wall, and anything else like the fan jet behind me. Now these 3 tables are all different parts of the system. These last 2 tables are where the end result end up. This is where, you know, the almost ready to sell plants or ready to sell plants will be. Some of them, sometimes we run out of room on our propagation table. This is where all the plants start off. As you can see, they're really tiny little baby plants. This first table gets watered every 30 minutes for a couple minutes to make sure the soil stays moist and is very nutrient-based for them. As we continue to go along, see more developed plants. We have our flowering geraniums up top, some mullen-in-law tongue down below. We make the best use of our space possible, so yeah. This is our 750-gallon fish tank. It is the biggest one we have, but it has no fish in it. The reason being is we use it as a giant filter. It has the biggest filter, most efficient, and most capacity. So what we like to do is we like to pump water back and forth from the fish tanks that actually have live fish in them to ensure that the water is getting properly filtered before we pump it back. It cuts down on water usage and saves a lot of time than having to drain the whole thing and refill it. This is another tank we have. It is empty, but it's only 500 gallons. Very similar to the other one, except this treats water straight from the hose so that the chlorine dissipates. Anything else we don't want in there dissipates and gets filtered off. This is very useful because our systems have a biofilter on them, which means they run on beneficial bacteria. If the beneficial bacteria was to be killed by the chlorine in the tap water, it would be very bad, and we would start losing filtration very quickly. Let's take a look in the fish tank. These are our medium fish. I'll try to catch one for you. This is a tilapia. It is a slightly larger version than what you saw inside. It has grown big enough to come out here and eat larger size pellets, called the 4,000 pellets. Alright, some of the parts of the tank that are included in this is the siphon. The siphon sucks water up from the bottom of the tank. That includes large waste materials such as fish waste, any algae that might be floating around, and it sucks it up into this clarifier. This clarifier then lets all the water, all the waste and sediment settle. As you can see lots of sediment on the bottom and clear water on the top. The clear water then overflows it to here in the filtration part. Now let's get a look underneath for that. This right here is the biofilter. That's where all the action is. That's what cleans the water with the beneficial bacteria that I was talking about. It then goes from there, out the bottom, back up through this return pipe. and that's how the water is filtered. We like to collect the waste from here to make that water that I was talking about earlier. Alright, so we'll head back outside to the concrete area. Alright, so this is where we do lots of our concrete work. Right here is the concrete cave. It has all the tools and whatnot that we need. Some of the tools are pretty valuable, so we like to keep it locked. If you come with me, I hope you can see. This is where most of the concrete tools reside. We have everything like motor oil to oil up the forms, some brushes for finishing, scrap tile from past projects, grout sealant for when you lay tile, special tiles for benches that customers have ordered, and anything else that students have been able to get their hands on as stuff to be used. You know, you find a local contractor with some waste tile, he'll take it off his hands, he's happy, you're happy, everybody's happy. As we go farther back, you'll see some bricks, boards, suspending these bags. It's a very important thing to do because concrete will actually suck the moisture out of already set concrete. Believe it or not, there's still moisture in there, and those concrete bags will suck it up and become an 80-pound bag of rock. Alright, so as we go over here, this is where most of the concrete work is done. It is the best area to do concrete work, except for the fact that there's sawdust collectors that have to be cleaned up every once in a while so sawdust doesn't get into your concrete. This is one of the only level areas near us to do concrete work. So the level area goes from about here to there. That's what you need to do. That's where you need to work. When you pour the concrete, it better be there because you're not moving it afterwards. It's heavy. As we continue to go down here, you'll see our large stock of wheelbarrows. We use that all over the place. We haul waste materials back and forth from jobs on campus. We mix concrete in them. We transport other tools. Alright, so as we go further this way, we're going to end up in our nursery. The nursery is where all the outdoor plants live. Unlike the greenhouse, these plants can live outside. Most of them are desert acclimated plants. Some of them are not. They're just meant to live outdoors. They don't do well indoors. You know, so we have some agave, some octopus plant, some cactus, cucumbers. We just transplanted these cucumbers recently. We have a large stock of them. You know, we have cuttings from around campus, like this gopher plant. We took that from a plant down by the Crest building. It was actually one of the class's projects to get successful trade of cuttings. It's a very important thing to learn, very useful tool in the landscaping business. These are orange jubilees. They're a very pretty plant. They have flowers all year round. And then we have all our trees and large shrubs. We have oleanders, mesquites, palo verdes, some sweet acacias. They're obviously in bigger pots because they have a larger root ball than some of the smaller stuff around here. So as we keep going, I'll show you the hydroponic tomatoes we have in the greenhouse. Alright, so over here is the start of the hydroponic system. Water goes through these pipes and then it hits here. From here on, it is no longer just normal tap water. Here it is treated with a fertilizer mix that we've mixed ourselves. Feel free to take a look. This mix comes from a water-soluble powder. It's called the Monterey Maxi 20-20-20. What those 320s stand for is the amount of nutrients in it. 20% nitrogen, 20% phosphate, and 20% potassium. Those are three key ingredients to sustaining plant life. Okay? And since our normal water does not have enough quantities of it, we mix that up, and it goes through this injector, which has been carefully calibrated to make sure each plant gets the right amount. It goes through these drip lines and comes out right onto the plant. Anyways, I hope you're happy with what you've seen here. Thank you for stopping by and visiting our program. I hope to see you around. Definitely be happy to give you another tour and explain any questions you have.